Hello again, fellow podcaster, and welcome back to Pod Theory. I'm your host, Jason Cercone, and today we're going to take a look at 4 ways to develop a deeper connection with your audience. Now, your podcast provides you with a platform for connecting with others that's really second to none. Through your podcast, you can accomplish many things, and many of those things have been covered here on Pod Theory. And the stuff that hasn't been covered? Yeah, we're going to get to it. But in regards to communication, your podcast serves as a means of providing insights to your listeners. People tune in because they're curious about the topic you're presenting and want to further their knowledge on the subject at hand. Whether you present your content solo or as a discussion between yourself and co-hosts, or if you conduct an interview with an expert on a certain topic, you have a unique opportunity to provide information that informs, entertains, educates, and influences. Similar to providing insights, you're also providing solutions. This is one of the main reasons people visit a site like Google, or look up videos on YouTube, or ask for recommendations from friends on Facebook, or search for a podcast on their favorite podcast app. They have a problem, they want a solution, and podcasts have become a vehicle that gives those solutions in a fun, innovative, and engaging way. When you provide insights and solutions, you establish trust and authority. When you position yourself as an authority within your industry, there is no end to where your brand message can reach. And when you establish trust between yourself and your audience, you'll earn their business and keep them engaged with your brand as long as you don't do something that breaches that trust. The most successful podcasters find a way to connect with their listeners on a very deep and meaningful level. This connection is what brings listeners back for future episodes. It leads them to respond to calls to actions that are placed within a particular episode. It gets them combing through the archives to catch up on missed content. And most importantly, it makes them loyal to you, your brand, and your podcast. In order to enhance that connection and take it to even deeper levels, you need to think differently. There are a number of things you can do on your podcast to showcase how you appreciate your fan base, such as reading the reviews and giving them a shout out, or having a segment on your show where you answer a listener's question, or doing a giveaway to one of your listeners. All of these things are great, and I recommend you leverage these ideas for your show. But don't be afraid to go the extra mile and do what others in your niche aren't doing. Here are just 4 suggestions that you can use to develop an even deeper connection with your listeners. Number 1, always respond to negative reviews. It's a fact, in today's world, everyone has a platform to express themselves and share their experiences, good or bad. Unfortunately, people post their negative experiences far more than they ever post their positive ones. But negative reviews are not as bad as you think they are. In fact, they're a gift. Instead of just staying silent or burying you to anyone who may mention your podcast, someone took the time to visit one of your platforms and let you know how they feel. Now, I know the first instinct here is to get defensive, but that's a bad look. Instead of arguing, thank the person for their feedback and evaluate what they had to say. Don't ignore them. They took time to reach out to you, so take time to respond. You never know. Within a negative comment could be a game-changing idea that you can implement on your show. If they leave their feedback on a site like Facebook or Twitter, you can respond right there so others see that you're taking the feedback seriously and everything that you solve is right there in the open for everybody to view. If someone writes you a negative review on a platform like Apple Podcasts, you can't respond directly to that review. But you can do this. Number 2, read your negative reviews on the air. Now, of course, you want to get positive reviews so you can get reinforcement that you're doing something right with your podcast. But this is the real world. And in the real world, you're never going to please 100% of your audience 100% of the time. Never. And that's fine. Everyone is entitled to their own viewpoint. And those who are entitled to said viewpoint may decide to express it with a negative review. Okay, great. Again, they've taken the time to provide you with some feedback. Take that review and talk about it on your show. Don't tear the reviewer apart or start a negativity war, but evaluate the review and determine what positives can come from it. Who knows? You may find an idea that allows you to reshape the direction of your show. At the very least, you'll be forced to look at your show from a different perspective. And for that, this reviewer should be thanked for taking the time to submit quality feedback that helps your efforts evolve. Number 3, connect with your listeners and set up mini interviews as a segment for your show. What if you were given an opportunity to make an appearance on your favorite podcast just because you reached out to the hosts and producers through a review or through their social media channels? That'd be pretty cool, right? Your audience members probably feel the same way about being on your show. As I mentioned before, your podcast could have a segment where you answer a listener's question. But instead of just reading it and answering it on the show, see if that listener would be willing to join you for a quick 5-minute video chat to discuss the question back and forth openly. You can edit this segment and then include it on your show. Now, I don't know about you, but if my favorite podcast gave me a chance to come on and speak openly about something, my connection to that show would know no limits going forward. And number 4, offer to speak on the phone with your listeners. To me, I can't think of a better way to thank one of my listeners than by taking a few minutes to speak with them on the phone. Not only does this give you an opportunity to further your connection with your listeners, it gives you a fantastic chance to directly pick the brain of those invested in your show to determine what you're doing right and what you could be doing better. Much like being offered an opportunity to come on my favorite podcast, if my favorite podcast host wanted to have a call with me, it would pull me even closer to that show, that brand, and everything else surrounding it. Creating quality, engaging content is, of course, one of the cornerstones of what makes a great podcast. But if you take time to truly and genuinely connect with your audience and literally make them part of what you're producing, you're going to find yourself light years ahead of every single one of your competitors. And that will bring this episode of Pod Theory to a conclusion. How are you enjoying the show? What can I be doing better for you? You can leave me a review on Apple Podcasts, but I'm also welcoming you to connect with me directly so we can talk about it one-on-one. My phone number is 412-965-8428. I look forward to your call. Good talk. I'll see you back here tomorrow. This has been Jason Cercone on Pod Theory.